Hi, this is our 10-year-old Bosch dishwasher. It is 10 years old. It's just started misbehaving in that it gets to the end of the cycle and it hasn't drained out properly. At first I thought maybe it was just the filter was blocked, but I've unblocked it a few times and it's still just odd times it stops with a lot of water in the machine. So I think something's wrong with it. I'm going to have a go at taking it apart to see if I can fix it. My wife says we should get a new one, but if I can fix it I will try and do that. They're not too bad to get apart once you know the trick. You only really need one of these, which is a Torx bit screwdriver. Don't know if you can see that, it's got a special shaped head that they use for assembling these. So let's give it a go. So first thing is I've turned the water off under the sink and I've unplugged the electricity as well and taken the plug out just to be doubly sure. So we'll slide the thing out. So I can get to it. It's not too bad to dismantle. Let's take these out first. I've drained the water out to save a bit of time. Yeah, so you can take the top off. At the back, if you've got strong fingers, there are two parts under the lid that you squeeze up really hard, and then you bump it as well, and that disconnects the lid, and then that just lifts off. And then this side panel is the one we want to get off. So we take off one Torx bit there. Try not to lose the screw, and another Torx bit there. And then the whole side panel just sort of clicks in. So we're popping out of the top, at the front, and then it will pop off the back, and then it will slide out of the side. Okay, so that lets you see all the working mechanism of the machine. I wonder if I can zoom in on that a little bit for you. The sort of business end of it is the electronic controls and the kind of hydraulic, the water tubes part here. So these are the water, that's the inlet hose. Hang on, yeah, that's the waste hose. That's the inlet hose there. That's the one that comes from the drum. There's all these tubes and things, but the main control part is here, so that's where I'm going to look. There are two limit switches which I think tell it how full the thing is for water. You get to them from, if you take this plastic cover off, there's this one here which is connected to like a sort of vacuum device, and I think the way that works is that once the water's up to a certain level, it means that it senses it using vacuum, and that works that limit switch. There's another one here which I've taken out for the moment because I think that might be where the problem is, which is connected to a float, and that tells it when it's up at the top level. So I think maybe this one tells it the top level, this one tells it the bottom level, something like that. I.e. this one knows when there's water in there and this one knows when there's water in there, and that's how it controls the level. So I think maybe that's what's at fault. The reason I think that is, I've taken this off. I've connected it to my multimeter. So this is a little micro switch, and it should basically be either on or off, which on this meter is 1 for off, and it's about half, well, it's actually about half an ohm. It's not completely 0 for off. And when let me see if you can see this. It's a bit fiddly, but it should give a nice clean switch from 1 to, well, about half an ohm. So when I press this, well, it's changing, but it's not very sure. 61 point. See, that's all over the place. It can't seem to make its mind up, so it's not really either properly on or properly off. If I let it go, yeah, that's off, and it should come up to about 0.5 ohm. But as you can see, if you can see that reading on the multimeter, it's sort of all over the place. So I think that fella's at fault. So I've got a replacement, which is this one, which is hopefully a bit crisper. So again, if you can see that display on the multimeter, so in that position, that's one which is open circuit. Click it. There we go. And that's setting into about, well, 0.4 ohms. That's good, and it's staying there. Let it go. Completely off. Click it in. There we are, 0.5 ohm. So that's making a much more positive reading. So I think if I replace that, that will quite possibly sort this out. Right, this whole thing comes apart quite easily as well. So I'm going to unclick the water thing from the top. And then, now I've already drained this earlier, but often when you take this part out, water starts to pour out of here. A little bit's gone out there. That's brought the seal with it. I'll put that back in place. You don't actually need to disconnect. You don't need to disconnect these hoses here. Just leave them on. It just folds back. And then you can. I'll take that top one off as well now. If you pull this out towards you a little bit, then this one just slides up as well. He says. Oops, clunk, that's him. He slides up as well. And that lets me get to this part. So let's see if I can get this new switch in a bit better. Let's take it out again to start. So there's two little pins. Oops. So prise that apart a bit. That's it. That's got it this time. So those two little pins I've got in those pins there. And those two pins are actually on top of that hole, not sat in that hole. Okay, pop this fella back in again. This one is a sort of extra switch for if you flood the machine. I did that once. I should slide down on there. That feels pretty good. Okay, so then electrical connection back on here. And the other electrical connection back on there. That feels pretty good. I don't know if you can hear that, but as you operate the float switch you can just hear a little click, which feels sort of quite hopeful to me. In fact, I might even test that. The meter. Hang on, I've not got a very good connection there. Take two. Test that with the meter. There we go, let's change it. So that looks about right to me. On there. Okay, set that out of the way. Just make sure I haven't disturbed that hose at the bottom. Put this fella back in. Okay, so putting it back together, as they say, is the reverse sequence to removal. So put that plastic cover over. Let's bring it back up here. Okay, you've got to get this side cover right. It's like a tongue on the bottom, that fits in first. Then, 2 pips around the back. And then, pop it onto. That's it. Fits over around the top and clicks into place quite nicely. And then the 2 Torx bits. Put back on. And the lid, that just locates these pegs, fit in holes. That's there. And then should just click in. Oh, there she goes. Right, that's fine. Just clicked in. And the jobs are good. Put those back in. Okay, we're ready to give it a try. Okay, it's the moment of truth. Dishwasher's come to the end of its cycle. See if it's still full of water. No, it's okay. It's drained away alright. So it seems that probably was the answer to the problem. So this tiny little switch, micro switch, just worn out I suppose with 10 years worth of on and offs. So it was 18 quid to repair it, but if that, or 18 quid for the switch rather, but if that keeps it going for another year, then I'll be happy. Cheers, bye bye.